What's going on, everybody? It's a chop and brew lanyap. Chip Walton in the house, or in the basement, in the bottom part of the house.
Yo, in my house.
With Don O. I am in Don Osborne's house. We are drinking a beer that was sent to me from a homebrewer in LA named Sandro Chiavaro. Chiavaro, yes.
Chiavaro.
He wrote it out phonetically for me because I thought he was of Hispanic origin, and homeboy is Italian. As you can see, there's Sandro right there, man. He's got a YouTube in which he kind of plotted the progress of this beer. This beer he calls Portuga, and it is a bourbon oak barrel aged Imperial porter, weighing in at 10%. He says he was inspired by Jamil's Baltic porter recipe in Brewing Classic Styles. He kind of did a little tweak to it, concentrated it a little more, gave it a little boost to a higher alcohol, and then it went into an actual bourbon barrel, which you can see on his YouTube page. We'll link that in the video description of this, but it's pretty cool to see this little tiny barrel. He does a drill hole for the sample and everything. It's pretty rad. So he sent it to us. The timeline appears to be it went into the barrel in early December 2012 and then was bottled February 9th. He's in a video on February 9th, 2013. A
little over a month ago from right now.
Right. He's drinking out of a couple of bottles. I don't know if he bottle conditioned it or kegged it and then bottled it. That's one thing I probably should have asked. So that's the setup, man. It's a big beer for sure, right off the nose.
You definitely smell bourbon barrel character right away.
Yeah.
The oaky vanilla character, the bourbon, frankly, you know, yeah, a bourbon flavor that you get in a bourbon barreled beer. You smell that. He mentioned coconut, I think. I thought that was interesting. So that's a sweet character that is also there. I don't know what the final gravity was, but with the beer this strong, it probably had a decent amount of residual sugar, so that gives it some sweetness, but kind of those darker fruit notes that people like to say. A cherry, a rich kind of a cherry note is in there. He
mentioned currant, and I'm getting a good bit of that, and it also not only the fruit flavor part of a currant, but that dry, that kind of cheek draining dryness, which is probably a combination of the alcohol and then like the flavor components. He actually said that he used a combination of 2 ale yeasts for this, which is kind of interesting because generally for a Baltic porter you're looking at a lager yeast, even a Zurich lager yeast if you're going to push this bad boy up past single digits. So that could be playing into part of the fruitiness too. It's not necessarily as clean and cleansing as I would think of a Baltic porter. Baltic porter has a lot of oomph up front, but I find they tend to be very clear-cut beers in the aftertaste.
It's still a porter in the sense that it has some elements of a roastiness to it. You know, there's probably some type of highly kiln malt in this, I'm sure, to get it this color for one thing. And so you get a little bit of that too, but that is a little bit masked by, I think, the bourbon barrel character, which is fine because that's what you're trying to do, is you're trying to get some unique character from the bourbon barrel.
Sandro himself admitted that this could probably stand some aging in bottles. Let's say, just based on what we can piece together from the video timeline, this is still only...
I wonder when he brewed it.
Yeah.
Do you know?
I do not. Fail on Chip Walton's part.
Well, that would be interesting to note because when I first took a sip of this, I thought it was quite boozy. But now that it's warmed up, I'm finding it less boozy, which I think is often opposite of what happens, maybe. Maybe I'm getting used to it.
Yeah, well,
but I feel that at first I had thought, oh wow, this beer could use some time to mellow that alcohol out a little bit, but it's not as much so right now. I think it's finally coming into a temperature that is good for this beer. But I think it's possible, and I don't know a lot about using barrels when you're fermenting it, then does it go right into the barrel, and then are you opening it up and sampling? And I think you said he did a nail hole, you know, sample, but I'm wondering if it's received a little bit of oxidation in the process, or maybe even just getting it into the bottles that he did. If he did not bottle all of it, maybe there was something in that process, which also are kind of flavors that you just get in strong beers and bourbon barrel beers.
Old ales.
Kind of, they just kind
ales. You mentioned kind of before we started officially rolling, it does seem like there's a lot going on. It seems like there's an English barley wine component. There's an old ale. There's a... Whoa, what's up? Oh, man.
Next video.
Sandro's little kid dancing.
We're talking too long.
Wow, that means we've been talking more than 6 minutes. So, but anyway, there's a lot going on in it. Not to say that it's muddled or confused, but it might take time to narrow into what it wants to be. Right now it's barley wine, stock, old.
But it's also possible that some recipes that you attempt just end up not being maybe what you hope for, and sometimes you just have to revise your process. I mean, a Baltic porter on its own tastes a certain way. You put it into a bourbon barrel, and you know, if you get this, and if you wish it was more of a, because it doesn't really, I don't know that I would guess that it was a porter, a Baltic porter. I think I might guess it was an old ale or something, you know what I mean? Just like a strong dark ale. So my point is, depending on what you're trying to do, maybe it's in the bourbon barrel even less time. Or maybe you blend the bourbon barrel one with a non-bourbon barrel Baltic porter, and maybe that lessens the bourbon barrel character, and it's all
keeps
just
the Baltic porter in focus.
that component. But it's all personal preference, and we're just talking out of our pie holes.
We are talking out of our pie holes while people above us stomp around. I think that's enough, man. I hope Sandro got something cool out of this.
Thank you for sending this. It's
we're not hating.
It's always fun to taste interesting, creative beers that people have put a lot of time and effort into, and these beers take a lot of money to brew. They take a lot of time. You have a bourbon barrel. That's not cheap. I mean, it's fun to taste these unique things and to see what people can make at home, and it's quite an enjoyable, strong drink.
Regardless of you being able to not taste this actual beer, I do suggest his videos. Pretty cool couple of videos on the overall process of this beer. So I'll link.
Did you say he had a group?
He's got a group too. Come on, man. Thanks for keeping me on point.
I'm stepping on toes. So
check out his YouTube page. We'll link that. What Dono is referring to is Sandro also has a group. It's more of like his own, it's his alter ego. He called it his alter brugo. It's called Beer Circles. It's on Facebook. So it's basically a really cool, pretty much a blog format, but on Facebook. So he's linking really cool articles, really cool pictures, a lot of food actually. So the chop and the brew is what he's interested in as well. But go ahead and befriend Beer Circles on Facebook.
I will.
Thanks for watching. Chop and Brew, Lanyap, Dono, Chip Walton.
We're out.
That was funny when his little kid popped up.
I know, did we really talk that whole...
It's easy to talk 6 minutes.
It was 6:04, so yeah, I mean...
Am I going to have to blur that out? His little daughter, like you blur out license plates and like... No. You're not supposed to show kids on a beer podcast.
It's okay. Stopped it. People have kids.